future profitable stylists out there. How do you become a six-figure hair extension stylist? That is what we are talking about today. We got a bunch of questions that Bernard and I have been asked over the years at shows, at classes, in passing, and everything else in between. And that's what we're talking about today. Bernard, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning. I was doing a little math on my phone here. We were just talking about some services and I was trying to figure something out, but I'll answer your questions first. Maybe I can do this in between. Talking about making money. So like immediately my calculator is coming out of
right.
mad scientist. Go ahead.
So we're going to do this kind of loose, not in any particular order whatsoever. But what we'll start off with is when you was starting out, how did you decide which extension method to specialize in? Do you think that choice helped you or originally slowed you down before, getting you to that six-figure income?
I was going to say, you're assuming a few things here. So the topic today is how to make a lot of money as a hairdresser, right? But we've phrased in the words a little differently.
No, specifically as a hair extensionist.
Okay. Especially, well, it's funny because
we did a whole series on how to become a six-figure income stylist. Definitely check out those videos.
I just answered a question on YouTube. I think it might have been RJ who asked the question about how to become, I don't know what services or what made you successful as a hairdresser. And people are answering, which is fun. And for me, it was just doing extensions. That was the basic answer. Doing extensions is the service that changed my life. That's the bottom line. It wasn't simple and fast. And the first extension job I did, I got rich on or anything, but I realized the journey of doing hair extensions and the power. There's a lot of power and it can be in a lot of different places, but it was like the power. What's going on here? The power a woman felt when she had more hair, the power I felt when I changed a person's life like that. There was just so much. I don't know if power is the right word, but the power, the energy, the feelings, everything was just so elevated, putting more hair on a person's head, right? And it was a growing thing because I sucked in the beginning. I learned how to do a particular technique and it was just so bad, but people still loved it more than my bad haircuts and bad color. So I was like, well, this is the thing to do. Even messing it up, people are in love with this service, this thing. And so what was the question?
Was there a particular method of extensions that you chose in the beginning, to get you to that six-figure income? And looking back on it now, do you think that was the right thing, or do you think that slowed you down? Do you think you should have been more open-minded?
So there wasn't choices when I started. That's the problem. There was just a weft. You were sewing a weft on a person's head. That was pretty much it. A few people glued them on. They didn't even have clip-ins yet. And maybe there were other techniques, but guys, I'm 56 years old. There was no internet. There was not easy to search things. 1-800, like you called 1411 in the past to find out somebody's number. And then you would say their name and then they would tell you, or their address, and they would tell you their phone number. That was information hotline. So there was an 800 hotline, and you would say something like hair extensions, and you'd get a few 800 numbers for extension companies around the world. And you would hope at a hair show or somehow through the phone book, which was usually just local, not national, that you could find a company. So it was literally word of mouth. And if you didn't know enough mouths to give you the words, you couldn't find much. It was difficult. And so the only thing I was aware of, and maybe worldwide there were other things going on 35 years ago when I started hair, but it was just a weft. So to me, I was taking this weft and it was like straight, wavy, or curly, higher or lower end quality. I had to customize it myself. It was heavy and a little painful on the head. So I just had to figure out how, even with all those challenges and problems, people loved having more hair. They just loved having more hair. My basic sales technique was Oh, I'm going to be a diva right now and ask RJ to turn the AC on again because I forgot. But my go-to consultation after I got good at it, I don't like lying. I couldn't be that salesman that sold the sizzle for more than it was actually worth. So I would get a little uncomfortable with people knowing it was going to be painful after. So I would say, well, they would say, I want longer, thicker hair. What do you think? Well, it's there's only one option, and it's sewing these things on your head. You'll have long, thick hair. It's what all the celebrities doing, but it's expensive. It's painful. You can have a headache for a few days. You might need to take some aspirin, Tylenol, something. But that's what I'm doing. You still want it? And they'd be like, yes. And I was such a terrible salesman at it because I got to the point where I didn't enjoy hurting people, but they still wanted it.
They still want it.
I remembered somebody saying, well, I actually thought this could have made or broke me. Make or break me. This one time, I can't remember who. I think it was my ex-wife, actually, thinking she's helping me. She don't realize thinking she's helping me, which could have hurt me, but did end up helping me. I said, I hate doing extensions. I really want to quit. And she said, why quit? Just raise the price so high. Nobody will know you're quitting. They'll just quit getting them. So I was doing them like $400 for a full, a couple of wefts sewn in. And I said, that's a good idea. Nobody will want them. I'm just going to say I'm $800 for extensions. It blew up. Do you know, more people wanted them. She thought she was helping me quit. I thought she was helping me quit. And ended up backfiring. And
in the best way possible.
In the best way. And all of a sudden, the next one I said, all that negative stuff, I said, they're expensive. It's $800. And you still want to do it? And she goes, yes. And I was like, I kind of want to do it now for $800. And that was a lot of money back then. So doing it for $800, I was like, holy cow, I might have unlocked something here. I didn't think I did yet. I just thought, well, this is a fluke. She's stupid. She's got a lot of money. And we're just going to do it. This is going to be great. I do this in like 3 hours. And I remember my boss hated me because if I did a head of extensions at 9 a.m. and I was done by 12, I took the rest of the day off. And
because you made your day. Right.
Well, it was once every month or two, And so I'd say, Marty, I worked for him for like 5 or 6 years before I opened my own salon. I said, Marty, and it was commission. So he made more than his fair share for the day off of me for that day. So he was happy too, but he didn't like my mentality. And I was young and dumb, early 20s and being stupid, like so many of us are in the beginning. And I said, Marty, if I get a hair extension client, I'm done for the day. I was pretty worn out. It was pretty tedious. I worked pretty hard. And so I was kind of mentally, and my fingers in the beginning, I'm doing these strings and knotting, and they were a little sore on the first few. But then I'd raised the price so much, I was like, I deserve the day off. I mean, I made us both so much money and in a day. And then when I started getting 1 a week, 2 a week, and they weren't stopping, I raised the price a little more, and they just kept coming. And then I started searching for better hair, better techniques, and things came along. So today, if I answered that question like a stylist starting today, it's a different story. There's so many techniques out there. I can see like two paths. Some people dabble in, and the sad thing is I probably take the stupid path because it's just my personality, but it's not the path I recommend. I'm going to tell you, I'm a little bit of a slow learner, and I don't trust a lot of educators out there because I watch them and I'm thinking, they don't even believe what they're teaching so often. And so I think it's rare to find somebody that really knows what they're teaching. And so for me personally, nobody in our organization is going to like this answer, but I personally am a trier first. And I'm going to call a company and they're not going to let me try it. And it's kind of like why we're doing this new thing with on stage extensions, letting people try, because it's my personality. It's like, I want to try and screw it up first. I don't care if it's on a mannequin, a real person, whatever. get my hands on it and figure out what are the right questions to ask. And then I want to take the training or the education. And I just want to screw it all up first and just get my hands dirty. And so I probably would try and buy some low end crappy stuff from somewhere and play with a mannequin head in whatever I'm trying to do. But with all the knowledge I actually have now, and I know this sounds like sales because I sell the product. The one I sell now, I sell because I was blown away a few years ago. The on-stage extensions. It's too freaking easy. It's too easy. I love keratin tips. I'm helping a girl this morning. I got some hair laid out there. I'm sending her pictures of the colors, and maybe we should make some wavy in with the straight hair that's not actually that straight because it's a better color match. That's the answer to the question earlier. Go to the wavy series to find the color you want. I didn't get to tell you that. And so with on stage, the weft, oh my God. I watched a friend of mine, Brad Swift. I watched a guy who is so super successful. He's a hairdresser with a lot of clients, making a good living because he owns the salon, also sending all his extension clients to this influencer celebrity stylist that lives in California, but comes to his salon and works a week every 6 weeks in Texas. And she would charge so much money, and even did his own wife's hair. And he saw my technique, and he saw me at a hair replacement class and said, now I'm seeing you everywhere on the internet. What is up with this extension technique you do? I'm sending clients to this other lady. Maybe I should be doing them. I said, you should, Brad. It's so freaking easy. He said, well, I've always seen extensions as super time consuming, hard to sell, damaging. I said, right. And they have been all of those things at different times. And there's a whole lot of them that still are, and a whole lot of hairdressers that are still giving us a bad name in the extension world. But for you, if I told you, as a matter of fact, I'm going to Dallas, just a few years ago. Where do you live? He's in Midland. He said, it's a 4-hour drive. I said, meet me in Dallas at Ali's Salon, and I and you will do your wife's hair. We'll take her hair out. We'll put them in. She had hand-tied wefts in. She had 4 wefts on one row. It was the first time I saw so many. I've seen as many as 7 now. So we took those 4 out. Now I just kept taking one after another out. And I said, wow, why so many on one row? And that was my first knowledge of the way things are done now. Like, people are too lazy to put 2 or 3 rows in because it took them so long to get the one row in. I know I'm going on my soapbox here, that they don't want to put a second and third row. And that's why they all curl their hair, because they can't cut it or blend it, because they don't put the proper placement pattern in. And I know I covered a lot there. But with Brad, we take them all out, get her hair clean, and we make 2 rows of the onstage weft. And I mean, it took us longer to take out and clean up that crappy mess she had on her head than to put the onstage in, because there's about 7 to 10 minutes for each weft. So in like 30 minutes, we've got 2 wefts in, and she's saying, oh my God, this is so comfortable. It's actually so comfortable. And I hate to use the word loose, but compared to a tight braided tied in technique just before that, she was worried they weren't in right, or too soft and loose, too comfortable. They were going to fall out. She said, are you sure? Are you sure they're right? I mean, Brad, I don't even feel it. This, is it going to stay in? I said, yes. And so it changed his complete career. I mean, so much so that he became our top extension buyer in the whole country over the next year or 2. It was crazy because he could just pop extensions in like that. So now I say, if I knew everything I knew and things were the same and I was starting scratch right now, I would start with the O-tips, which beaded strand, beaded wefts, O-tip weft, O-tip weft, O-weft. Is that what we call it? The O-weft. I don't know why it's not it's just not flowing off my lips correctly right now.
You need to take a breath is what you need to do.
No, O-tip. That's what it is. The O-tip. So I'm serious. No, if I were to start right now, if I could give somebody advice, if they would freaking listen, I feel like Marty McFly in Back to the Future. You're going back and you're telling people, no, if you just do this, your life will be better. I swear. And they won't listen. They just won't listen. 2 wefts and a pack of strands. You can do it all in 30 minutes and somebody's hair will be beautiful. They'll be happy. You'll be happy, and you'll make a lot of money. Well, let me think about it. Yeah.
That is the beauty of what's going on nowadays, is that there are so many options in comparison to what we had coming up. There wasn't many options when I was coming up either. there was more than what you had, but there wasn't that many more than what you had.
Right.
And I was just all over the place. Whatever somebody wanted, I was just excited to do hair. So whatever somebody would ask for, I would immediately go figure out how to do that technique. And I think in the beginning, looking back on it now from an educational perspective, it was a great decision that I had made because it opened up my knowledge base to everything and everything under the sun. But it did hold me back because I was always chasing after whatever somebody asked for or whatever I thought was popular. And I didn't just start focusing in on something that felt good. I definitely had some favorites more than others, but I was painstakingly doing some of the ones I didn't like because they were popular, just because they were popular. So I love your direction with what you were talking about with all of that, because it totally makes sense. And nowadays, yeah, I found my favorite. I stuck with my favorite for a very long time. And then when you hit me with the O-tip, this new revolutionary thing, I was like, you know what, man, I never want to deal with the weft ever again. But when you showed it to me, I'm like, you know what? Okay. It was, wefts were one of the things that I didn't necessarily enjoy gluing in all the time. But
Right.
now being able to use the O-tip bead technique, it simplifies things so much more. I'm like, I'm all in. Now I have two favorite techniques in the keratin bonds and now in the wefts. Now I can actually do wefts again. And being able to do 2 wefts in a pack of strands. I mean, you want to talk about banging out a whole hair extension in less than an hour.
So stupid.
The same amount of time it takes you to do a foil with the processing time. And now there's no more processing time. Yeah. It's fun. It's so much fun. So you kind of answered this question.
I probably answered all the questions.
You probably answered all the questions.
That was a lot. I know. I'm sorry.
But the one question was going to be about pricing, was going to be like, when did you figure out this is the price? This is when I need to raise my price, or am I scared to raise my price? People are going to freak out. You kind of went over it a little bit.
We could definitely go over pricing even more, because I didn't go about it the proper way. I mean, I accidentally started to charge a lot. When wefts got to be a high quality, no tangle type of weft, and people were doing individual strands that looked like a K-tip, a lot of people don't know K-tips were born out of people cutting a little hair off the weft. And then you've got the return hairs, mustache hairs, beard hairs, whatever you want to call them, the short hairs. So you'd have to hold the weft a little further down the strands and flick those little short hairs out, and then use a hot glue gun and put a little something. And I don't think they were actually using hot glue. The sticks were amber in color. I think they had a little more glue in them than just plastic. I think hot glue is just melted plastic. So they're putting some kind of better holding agent in the hot glue sticks and selling them to you, but you'd still use a regular hot glue gun, put a little glue on there, roll it into a person's head. And we kind of, across the world, we're inventing strand by strand extensions on our own by hot gluing little strands of hair from wefts. And then companies like She Hair, Great Lengths, I think a few companies do it now. They're just trying to call it a K-tip now, basic K-tip. But then they started mass producing those little bitty strands. And that's where pricing got a little more systematic for me, because you could buy so few strands, and it was like, do you want a few little highlights, a few little lowlights? Do you want a little thickening? Do you want to add just thickness? Do you want to add length and thickness? So we started breaking it down. How much does one strand cost us? How long does it take to put in? What should we charge for that one strand? And then multiplying it by how many strands, how many times we're going to put one in. So all that math that I hated in school started to come into play. And I started thinking roughly tripling the cost worked out. And in most cases, this helps salon owners as well as hairdressers. If you're an owner and you're doing a commission style payment, to me, the triple is like the cost of the hair, then split this. So you basically have a third of it going to the cost of the hair, a third going to the salon, a third going to the hairdresser. That was a real easy way to break down the math. You could take the cost out and do 50-50 commission. You could not take the cost out and do 33.3 percent commission, take, give a third, whatever looked better for your pay structure, payroll, however your math is done in your software. But then if you're just a booth renter, well, you're covering some of those expenses yourself. You're covering the cost that a salon owner is trying to cover. So you get to keep 2/3, Unfortunately, most people don't think they deserve or they're worth that much. Mm-hmm. And so in that situation, they end up charging a lot less. They just double, which this is a track that we don't talk about much. She hair or keratin tips take a lot longer to install. If you mess up, let's just say you put it in the wrong place and you got to move it. You take it out, you throw it away, you put a new piece in. On stage extensions, you take it out and you move it. You just use a new bead. So the mistakes were not as easily fixed through K-tips. So the learning curve was a lot steeper and a lot more costly. Whereas with on stage, you could use the same hair again and again as you figure out the mess ups. And so with that being said, I can afford to make a little less money with on stage extensions because even the mistakes can be corrected more affordably and they go in faster. Even the mess ups go in faster. Whereas with she hair, once you get it, well, that's fine. But if you don't get it and you mess up, you need to make a little more profit in case you screw up every once in a while and you need to fix it. You need that profit coming from somewhere to pay for your mistakes. So triple was very safe with she hair. With onstage hair, you could possibly just double the cost. And what was interesting is she hair, let's just say a full head took, and most people take longer than 3 hours. Let's say it took 3 hours. Now onstage hair takes 1 hour. Well, you technically, not that if you were lucky enough to get this many extension clients, you could technically do 3 clients in the time of 1. So do you need a triple to make the same money per hour? No. But why lower it if clients are used to paying $1,500 for a full head of extensions? So if somebody is used to paying a lot of money for a particular look, but the technique just got faster and easier, the hair is still about the same cost because it's a high quality hair. So the hair is still about the same for me to buy hair to put a full head in. But if I'm gonna triple it, but I can do it faster, why wouldn't I just make more money?
It's such an interesting point that you're bringing up because hair extensions at its core is a very emotional service. And hairstylists in general, we got into this business because we want to make an emotional impact, a very positive emotional impact on our clientele. And so
I just wanted to pay my bills
because we're service most stylists,
but I did enjoy. I know what you're saying.
Stylists being our service driven people in general.
But then I enjoyed making the difference emotionally.
Well, that's the difference. But then what? And then there lies the problem is because not enough stylists think about the business end of things. And they want to make money, but they're afraid, like you mentioned, they're afraid to make money, but they want to do it. But that making the client happy and doing the service nicely trumps their own profits, their own profit margins. True. So in the beginning, when a stylist finds a technique that could make their application time more efficient, cut down on their application time, it automatically makes them lower their price because they think they're devaluing something for some reason. My voice is hoarse right now because I just did a 7-hour class on Monday. We did an ultimate 7-hour continuing education event for Illinois stylists. And that was one of the topics that was brought up. And a lot of questions were asked by the audience was, how do you adjust pricing per hour and per timing? And this was the example that I gave without going into too much of a heavy specifics, just out of respect to the audience. But, if it takes you 3 hours to do an install, and somehow you're justifying that's a lot of work, therefore I need to charge this much money to make it worth my while. But then all of a sudden you get good. And now that 3-hour same service only takes you hour and a half the time. You are penalizing yourself because you got better.
That's what I always
say it that way, it sounds goofy.
Right. But that's what most stylists do.
That's what most stylists do. And that's what most have. And that's one of the things that I figured out. I learned this very early on. There is a price for everything and for everybody. No matter what you charge, there is somebody out there that's willing to pay for it. You just have to be confident in charging whatever you're charging, and you got to find the people that will pay for it. And there are people that will pay for it. My best example of modern day times now, I forget what the rapper's name was, but he sold a basic Fruit of the Loom white t-shirt for $100. And he had back orders, people waiting for him to release another set of it because he sold out. And when I was talking to Carmelina, my wife listens to rap music, so she was telling me about it.
And you wanted
And I'm
a
like,
t-shirt?
I absolutely did not want $100 Fruit of the Loom basic white t-shirt. Now, I'm not making fun of Fruit of the Loom. I like those t-shirts. They're comfortable and everything, but not for $100 friggin' dollars. That's just
Right.
not me.
Right.
But there was, I mean, this dude made millions of dollars off of selling a basic white t-shirt. And that's the whole point of the story, is there is always somebody out there that you will find to pay the price. You just have to make sure that.
Let me cover an analogy really quick that helped me understand a little bit better about time and money. For like you said, you should be wanting to make a certain amount per hour, and your basic train of thought should be that the higher your skill gets. Some people think just the longer they've been doing it, the more they're worth, but not necessarily if you're not getting better. But if you're going to hair shows, you're buying education, you're learning, you're taking some extra time to improve your skill, you're going to get faster at some of the basic things. And you ever bring yes, everybody's brought their car to a mechanic, and let's just use one example. You need your transmission changed, and the book time is 4 hours. Well, it doesn't take the mechanic 4 hours to do. The difference in hairdressers and mechanics is the client is seeing the service take the amount of time. So we feel guilty. Ooh, this went quick. I can't charge that much. But the mechanic changes your transmission. If it's a brand new beginner mechanic, yes, it takes them 4 hours because they're reading. But an experienced mechanic figures out shortcuts, does the same great job, gets it done in an hour, hour and a half. They charge you for the book time. And so they have times allotted for the service. And so that's kind of the analogy that helped me understand, like, the better and faster I got didn't necessarily mean that I should be charging less. Now, there's some other things to go along with that I always get passionate about, and it's the basic supply and demand. I mean, whatever you're charging, if you're doing a good job making people happy and you're filling up the amount of time you want to do that service, well, once you get close to being booked a few weeks in advance, or even 80% of that, you need to just raise your prices. Doesn't matter how fast or good or whatever. You could just have a good personality. People like being around you. And so now you have this audience. You're an influencer, some sort of micro influencer that love being around you. Their hair is okay. You know, they don't necessarily love how you do their hair, because that was me. I did okay with hair, but I did great with relationships and the business side of it. And I rescheduled their appointment. I got really good at extensions, but I wasn't really good. I wasn't any worth going on stage and teaching people how to. I mean, I'm really good at cutting hair now, but for the longest time, I didn't cut that well. I couldn't explain why my haircuts came out. One time in band camp, no, I did this one. I went on an interview one time. It's a little embarrassing, actually. Don't tell anybody. I went on this interview one time thinking I might move, close everything down. This is early on, and go work for a hair replacement studio in another state. I might just leave it all behind. It's when I went through my divorce, and I was like in between. I didn't want to leave the kids, but if I could make more money, maybe I could bring them with me. So I go on an interview for the promise or hopes to make a lot more money than I'm already making in my business, because I'm kind of getting started. And this is what made me realize I needed to break everything down that I do and be able to explain it. Because I remember the manager, Tim, I cut hair in on his head. And I said, "What do you think?" He said, "It's the best haircut I've ever had." and it was cutting a hair replacement system in. He said, but I don't know how we teach it to the stylists. I said, what do you mean? He said, you move so fast and all over the place. It was like a tornado happening on top of my head. And I don't think it's replicatable. I was like, well, that was the best compliment and insult I got at the same time in my whole life. I thought, I don't know if I should be happy or pissed off right now. I'm not teachable. I'm not teachable. I can't be a teacher. I didn't, because I use thin and shears and I'm like,
Yeah.
I could just see it. I look like I was on stage at a hair show. Hair's flying. I'm flying through there and it's done and I'm fast and I'm really good. And he's like, this is the best cut I've ever. How can it be the best cut you ever had and you not want to hire me? He did want to hire me, but they didn't offer the same amount of money. But the thing that really hurt my feelings and made me not want to work for them is he wanted me to be the main educator there because he had met me backstage at a hair show where I was doing hair replacement for a show. Well, that makes sense. We're putting people out on stage and they're looking really good. And the audience is loving it and clapping. They bring out the artist, which is me and another guy. And like, these are the guys who did all the work. The crowd's going wild. And you feel so amazing. And then you get a job offer in another state. And then he says, I don't know how we could teach people to do what you do. So then I slowed it all down and broke it down. Like, this is how you get where we need to be, and made it really methodical and came up with an exact hair replacement haircut. And thank God I didn't take that job, because none of this would have happened. But it was a great learning experience for me on, if I'm going to do it, I need to be able to teach it.
Absolutely. So now, thinking about during consultations, do you have a go-to question that you ask during a consultation? And depending on how the person, and a follow-up, and depending on how the person responds, is there ever a time in a consultation where you're like, ooh, this is a red flag. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Next.
Well, that's a great question. This kind of comes out of that same story I just told. I know there's a lot of little nuances and experience, and some of the basics of a consultation are to be real serious. No, don't be real serious. I mean, you got to be professional, but just knowing something before you start a consultation will help you. People do business with people they like. Some people say know, like, and trust. And so how do you get somebody to like you immediately? It's usually not being ridiculously serious and boring, but just being somebody's friend. If you're just smiling, did you need me? Okay. We are right after this live. And so I'm doing a training class right after this. And people are walking in already a little early. So knowing that you have to be liked. I mean, think about a date, maybe. If you go on a date, I mean, how do you start off thinking, like, if you see the other person, you're like, I think this person looks good. I love the way they act. I want them to like me. What do you do? That's kind of the basis of a consultation. I'm looking like, you have the money that I want. I want you to want to give me money. You need to like me and trust me and want me to do a service on you. You got to have that mindset first, right? And so some people don't have that mindset. Some people think, they probably just heard I'm good. Of course they want me. What do you want? Yep, I could do that. We'll start tomorrow. And so I could see where personality could just turn people off. But knowing that you want them to know that you want to do it, that's part of it. So a smile, just a smile. Hey, how are you doing? And greeting. But then I broke that down to be teachable to 3 basic questions. I broke consultations down. I have videos on it. And to me, it all hinges on, I want you to want me, like me, want my service, and come back again. That's what I'm thinking in my head. If you don't come back in the future, I'm not building a business. So if I do this consultation with the mindset that I'm going to just do your hair right now, and it's hopefully going to be so good, you're going to want to come back to me, that's not enough for me. I need to have you come back to me immediately. So I'm thinking of the marketing. Now I'm thinking about, where did you come from? How did you hear about me? So I kind of broke it down from that time when I ordered the pull-up bar. Well, I didn't want the pull-up bar. I just wanted P90X.
Okay.
I wanted to go in and get P90X on an 800 phone call years ago, and I called the 800 number, and the lady says, name. I said, you still got that pull-up bar. It says if I don't order in the next 60 seconds, I don't get it. And I don't want the 60 seconds to go away. Maybe it was 3 hours. I don't know. And so she said, yes, sir, we still have them. What's your name, please? I said, well, I just want to know, how soon does this come? I'm trying to ask all these questions, and she's got a format.
Yeah, right. You're messing up her mojo over here.
Up, but she's not wavering, right? Name, address. Where did you see our ad? I'm like, what does this matter? I want your product. Well, not she, but her company knows that if we get off the call and she doesn't know who I am, my phone number, or how to get in touch with me again, if I have this little emotional thing where I'm like, I think I want it. I'll call back later. Well, they want to be able to get in touch with me later, just in case I don't, I lose it right. So they have a little format to do a few things. And I thought, you know what? I don't have a format for my consultations. I just like, hey, how you doing? What are you here for? Good idea. So I thought, you know what it really made me realize is that the person asking the questions is in control of the conversation. She was totally controlling me. I was being controlled. And so if I just say, hey, what you here for? And just let them start talking, and they're asking me the questions. How does extensions work? How long do they last? When can I come in? How much is it human hair? Well, they're in control of the conversation, and I'm just answering. I'm just a puppet. I'm not really leading or guiding anywhere. So I thought I need them to talk a lot, but I need to have at least the first 2 or 3 questions to control the situation, like that lady controlled me. And so I first, especially, should know their name from their scheduled consultation, but maybe I didn't look at the book. And out of politeness, I'll say, hey, what's your name? And they say it, like, Ann, hey, I'm Bernard. How are you doing? Come on back. Let's go talk over here. So to me, it's like greeting. Get their name, a greeting. And I like what John said when you guys talked the other day, just smiling and acknowledging, even if you're doing a client. And are you Ann? Are you waiting for me? I'll be right with you. Have a seat right there, or go grab some coffee, or would you get her some coffee, water? You want anything? I'm running a little late, running a little early. I'll be done with this, then you're next. Just communication, even if it's just eye contact. So just, who are you? And then, what are you here for? What service were you hoping I could help you with today? Because it's usually extensions in this case. And then the thing that I don't think I think a lot of people start selling, explaining, and you have no idea what they know about what's going on. So I just do a greeting first, ask them what service and what they know about that service, or what have they already researched. So even if it's highlights, color, they'll say, I want to get some highlights. Oh, okay. Have you had highlights before? Tell me about your past experiences. And then they talk. So it's like whatever. So that's my format: is name, what is the service? Tell me what you've experienced in the past. What internet research have you done? Sometimes it even comes up that they've been watching my videos on YouTube and they saw that I can do blah, blah, blah. That's why they want me or my salon, or that's why they flew, whatever. And so it's name, service, money. I talk about the money third. And so I don't think enough people talk about the money. I ask them. So unorthodox. This is the crazy thing. This is what I do that nobody else in the world does. What do you think it cost? They're here to ask me what it cost. What are highlights going to cost today? Yep, good question. What are they going to cost? No, I asked you the question. No, I asked you the question, but I asked first. I understand. I know. And you know what? I am doing marketing and advertising in different places. I'm kind of curious where you heard about me, because that's part of my greeting. I'm like, I knowing their name should just be known. But to me, it's, we know each other's name. I say, how'd you hear about me? Where'd you see me? I forgot to mention that in as number one. Greeting with, how'd you find out about me? Tell me, let's talk about that service. And then let's talk about the money. And I say, I know you saw something somewhere about me. You wanted to come for a service, or your friend recommended me. They must have talked about what it costs. And if they go, no idea. Okay. Well, I know at some point people ask to me, a silly question is, what is your budget for your hair? I don't know. I know a lot of people say that. That just feels really weird to me. What are you willing to spend on your hair? Because that's what I'm going to try to do as much as I can to get to that budget. But I feel like people are going to name a lower number because they don't want to tell you how much they're willing to spend on their hair. So I feel like this question is more like, it's more like, what do you think it's going to cost? To get what you want done?
You're trying to figure out what is their value in their mind. At what point do they think it's worth it?
Well, oh wait, you almost touched on it. Value is true, but you know what I'm really doing? I found that, sorry, I hit the mic. I found that people don't really understand hair extension techniques
That's
and
true.
qualities. And to me, if they say a price, they don't know this. I know they think that I'm trying to find out what they're willing to pay, but so does the stupid budget question. That's the same thing. Sounds like you're trying to. So to me, it's more like I try to figure out where their mind is in the world of extensions. So for me, if they say, I don't know, like $200, well, I know their knowledge base, what they think, what they don't have any clue about. I even know they've never even bought a set of clip-in extensions or a cheap set of tape-in on their own head, because $200 doesn't buy much in the extension.
They don't even have a girlfriend that's worn them before or anything else either.
Right.
They
know
saw it
nothing
online and thought that would be cool.
That's right. That's right. So that's what it does for me. And I push hard for it. I'm like, it's not even worth me going any further. If you have no idea what the service costs, well, let's say 10 grand. I mean, what price are you even willing to pay to get more hair on your head? Do you have any idea where this starts? And some of them will say, well, I know it's over $1,000. And I'm like, how do you know that? That's right. That's right. But not always. Just a little thickening, a little highlights, a little thickening on the sides. That could be under 1,000 actually, but it's in the higher hundreds, not 100 or 200 usually. So what made you think that? Do you have a friend that's worn them? But then you've got the ones who say, oh, I know exactly what they cost because you did my friend's hair last week. It looks amazing. I want the exact same thing. And she said it was $1,700. And I'll say, well, your head's a little bigger, a little smaller. Your hair's a little longer, a little shorter. It might be a little bit more, a little bit less. But at least you are in the same ballpark. We're on the same page. We're talking the same language. So money is super important. A lot of people don't talk about money at all, especially when it comes to color and haircut services. They're like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Okay, that's perfect. Let's do it. Let's get started. Then you're done and they're like $400 at the end. And you can't charge them because you never told them it was going to take a lot of corrective color and 2 or 3 bleachings and toners to get them there. So you've got to talk about money. So to me, it's like, where'd you hear about me? Tell me more about what you want and your experiences in the past. And let's just talk about the money. Whatever's comfortable for you. Those are my 3 go-tos for a consultation. But a lot of little side stories come up along the way. Maybe some before and after pictures, some testimonials. Let's go look at another hairdresser in the salon that has the service that you're wanting. Go dig through her head. Look what they look like on her. Are they comfortable? Ask her whatever you want. So there's a lot of other things that happen. But for me, having that basis of the 3 questions, even if I'm doing it over the phone, through text, through Messenger, that's my, I guess, bare bones consultation questions.
My go-to is, why do you want this? Do you want this for yourself or because somebody suggested that you should do it?
That's a great question.
And then my second follow-up is, what does your day look like? Do you have time for yourself, or you're always running around chasing after everybody, getting everybody organized?
I hate that question. So many people ask it, but I feel like you want this service, it takes more time. You're going to do it. I don't care.
No. That's, I don't mean it from that perspective. I mean, because my red flag is, if you don't spend time taking care of yourself, because you got to get the kids to school, you got to get your husband to work, you got to go do the
doing their hair. I'm still doing their hair. Let them mess it up. We'll take it out later and we'll chastise them and say, you didn't take care of them. Shame on you.
Well, then what do you do? Then how do you handle the maintenance and the follow-up appointments and the rebooking?
So if they won't take care of their hair when they come back, so immediately we're making a next appointment when we do services. We're always scheduling the next appointment, no matter what it is, how long out it is. At least I did. And I tell them in the consultation, we'll need to schedule your next appointment before you leave. And if they're like, oh, no, I can't do that, I'll say, then we probably shouldn't do your hair today. What do you mean? Well, you have to get it done again. You're gonna have to have service, especially color. You're gonna have roots. It's gonna grow out. It's gonna fade. You're gonna need a toner. If you're not, when your dentist says we're gonna make your next appointment in 6 months, and you say okay and you schedule it, you don't always make that appointment. You may have to move it, be on vacation, change it. But why would a dentist get more respect than I get? You're gonna do something with your hair again in the future. So we're going to put it on the book. I'm going to treat you like I'm as what? Because I didn't go to school as long. I don't have doctor in my name. What devalues me? Only me. I devalue me. Education doesn't necessarily matter. It's more about skill and talent and how you make people feel and what you do for them. And so to me, I'm a human, just like a doctor or a dentist. I deserve respect. I did your hair. If you're not going to do me the respect of making it stay looking good, I don't, like you said, you're not even going to do them if you find out they're not going to take care of it. I'd rather get the money now, find out they're not going to take care of it, and then fire them later, or redirect. I would say, because I'm going to take their money. I'm going to take that disrespectful woman's money or disrespectful man's money the first time, and then fire them as a client. But I also take the chance to teach them how to be a good client. So you need to come in more often. You just schedule before you leave. Okay, I'll do it. I've never done it before. Because most hairdressers don't make people do it. So they don't know that they should or could. I don't see what's, I got to make sure we don't run over. So they don't know how. So I teach them, and I can get a little stern with them if I need to. And they're like, okay, God, you take this so serious. Yeah, because you're going to have bald spots on your head if you don't take care of it.
It is a very serious service. This is not a game. We ain't playing around, you know?
Right. Your hair, if you don't take care of it and you get these tangles and you end up with bald spots or scars on your head that never grows hair again in those spots because you let it get into a tangled mess. You didn't well, I won't even go into all the details of maintenance, and it's not that much. It's just 2 or 3 basic things, right? Keeping it
brush your hair,
keeping it detangled, and don't sleep with wet hair. Those are the 2 big ones, but there's a few more that people should be doing to take care of their hair. And so I'll say, if you're not going to do it, we will. You just need to make an appointment once a week now where we get your hair detangled and shampoo and blow dry and style, so you can make it a few days. I mean, they should be brushing between once a week too, but at least once a week I can reverse some of the lack of care that they're doing. So I'll go to, we don't need to see you for another 3 months, but if there's some chemicals in there, maybe it's once a month. And then maybe if you're just a bad client, maybe it's once a week. Or if you just can't even do that, you're fired. Let's take them out now. You can't come again. So that's kind of my steps.
One more question. We got time for one more question.
Okay.
And I think this one is something that I stumbled upon accidentally, only because, with the amount of classes that we teach and mentor, and especially when mentoring stylists, at what point do you have to make the decision that you aren't a stylist anymore? You are a professional. You kind of mentioned it a couple of times, and you just made me realize and remember. So I was kind of contemplating and thinking about it. But where is the disconnect? Or do you agree that there's a disconnect? Because in my opinion, if your mental is I'm a hairdresser versus your mental is I am a business professional who happens to also be a stylist, that's part of my portfolio. To become a 6-figure income stylist, to become any income stylist at that degree, does it take a certain mindset? Or is it just the same? Anybody can do it.
Well, not anybody can do it, but I think of it a little differently than you do. And maybe you need to think of it differently to get the feeling. To me, it's just in the head, and I know it's an opinion, but for me, the titles don't matter so much. I know it matters for a lot of people. So you could just call me, I don't love the word beautician. I don't know. I heard John say that, something about beauty school and beautician. And I was like, John, how old are you? We don't say those words anymore.
He's a grandpa.
Yeah, I would just as well be called a cutter, a stylist, a barber. I'm not even a barber. I don't have a barber's license. I do. I'm so sorry. I didn't for a long time, but I'm dual licensed now. So I wouldn't care if I was called a barber, a hairdresser, a stylist. My wife, this is why I think it's interesting. I was kind of laughing as you were saying it because I don't know what to call myself. We go to a party. I haven't been behind the chair in over 10 years cutting hair, but I'm teaching a lot of hair services and I'm doing them often enough. And I sneak in there and help with a client or two. And then another client sees and they're like, wait, you're doing hair again? No, I'm fixing something. I'm helping with something because my old clients are still coming to other hairdressers. And especially in the hair replacement rooms with private rooms, they see me, they hear my voice or they see me walking through the hallway and they're like, are you coming to do me next? No, I'm not. But at a party, somebody might say, we're just talking or whatever. And I just don't care what people think. I care about the relationship in the service and I want to make sure I'm giving us all I can for and all the exactly plus more the money's worth of what somebody's paying me. I want them to get the value of whatever they're paying. Anytime they're paying me. And I like teaching. So often I'm just teaching for free because I like passing on knowledge. So to me, my wife at a party people will say, so what do you guys do? And say, for the longest time, I would say, I'm a hairdresser. She goes, you're not just a hairdresser. You own a business. You sell products and education to hairdressers across the country. I said, because I'm a hairdresser. And she goes, she said, yeah, but they think, and I don't care so much. And in some parties, maybe it matters what they think because maybe the relationship is they want to go into business with us and a doctor might not want to go in business with a hairdresser, but they might want to go in business with a distributor. You know what I'm saying? So maybe sometimes the answers matter depending on what social circles you're in. But I never really cared much about it because I'd rather be in my bee yard working with my beehives or on the tractor moving the dirt around my property or playing with my dogs in the pool or with my kid. And so when they're like, what? So what do you guys do? I said, I'm a hairdresser. They're like, oh, so you own a salon? Yeah. And she's like, and much more. Why do you just say that? I said, I don't know. What should I say? I don't care what they think. I didn't even really like that guy. I don't want him to call me again or talk to me again. I'm never going to a party he's at again. Why does it matter because he's going to tell people Bernard's a hairdresser. Well, so what? So I struggle with that question you just asked because I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. I want to stay humble, but I want to be honest. I want people to get a better understanding of what I actually do. So I've moved it more to what do you guys do? I'm like, so much. I really don't know how to answer that question. I own and help manage multiple businesses, but for the most part, we sell and teach hairdressers how to do hair extensions across the country. We ship out hair to hairdressers in states all across the country. And mostly I just deal with the problems from the few that just can't seem to get it right, And so I'm on the phone solving a problem most of the time because the team that I've hired is selling the product, taking the order, selling the classes. And I get criticized for, I don't want people to think like we have a lot of problems because our product may not be good if there's so many problems. You know what I'm saying? So I'm still struggling, Eddie. I don't know who I am or what I should say. I don't want people to think our product's all problems, but unfortunately, I'm the problem solver. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. So titles, yeah, and you are absolutely correct. Titles matter to some people. Titles don't mean scratch to other people. But at the end of the day, what you're conveying right now is that emotional care in your mind. You want to do something good and you want to be something because you want to be and you want to give value to people. Regardless, because you're doing it because you want it, not
Right.
because you have to do it, not because you're being forced to do it, not because you're desperate to do it. It's
Right.
because you want to do it.
Because I have integrity.
You have integrity. And that integrity, that's the moment when you level up or you move up a rank, however you want to refer to it as. That's what sets you apart. If you're just going to work because you're clocking in, yeah, I got to do my 9 to 5. Hey, well, what's new by you? Same crap, different day. Brah. If that's your mentality, you're going to make an income. But are you going to be able to realize your full potential income?
No.
It's going to be rough because you're hampering yourself. You're not willing to spend one extra second at the job. You're not willing to go that one extra step for the client that you're working with or just the task at hand that you're in. Versus, I want people to enjoy sitting in my chair. I want somebody to like what they see. I want somebody to get that value more than what they're paying me. I want to do good. Therefore, I will, because I am. And I don't care what somebody else's opinion is going to be of me. I struggle with the title. Like you're saying, I struggle with the title. I don't know what to call myself because I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it work. That's the mentality of a winner. This is something I argue with Carmelina on all the time. She has such a nurturing personality that whenever she's got to do something for herself, her personal self, she's always like, I don't know, maybe I can do it. I'll try. And I'm like, woman, if you needed to do that for somebody else, you'd be on it in 2 seconds. Like, let's go. I'm doing it. Why, when it comes to yourself, you're like, I don't know, maybe I'll try. No, get that mentality out of your head. It's I will, because I can, because I rule you, because hear me roar, I'm power, like whatever you need to say in your head. That's the mentality you need to have. That's what makes the difference between a 6-figure income or more hair extensionist, stylist, person in general compared to somebody else who's unfortunately struggling when they may not necessarily need to be struggling.
So let's end with this. I want to ask, are you the kind of person, not you, but everybody watching this in the future and forever, even the people who don't hit the subscribe button or the like button or comment, because those are the ones we like more. But are you the kind of person that lets things happen, or are you the kind of person that makes things happen?
I like that.
That's the difference in the world. Do you just wait around and let it happen? Yep, they're going to come to me and want haircuts and I'll build a business. Or do you make it happen? You should come to me and get your haircut. Every area of life. You can let it happen or you can make it happen. I'm going to teach a class.
That's a great way to end. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you next week.
Bye. So,